nice, isn't it? So this morning we're going to discuss online community engagement. So to start, what is your expectation? Because if I read online community engagement, it might be a bit fake. So let's see if we can manage expectations here today. If I may ask you here in the front, what is your expectation? What will we be discussing today?
I think, although we are talking about online community, I think it's about community.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Although we're talking about online community, I think it's more essential to talk about community building, and there are, let's say, similarities between community building like here and community building online. And maybe people will be surprised by the fact that there are so many similarities.
Great, great. Can you do that? Anyone else? Online community engagement? What made you come here this morning through the fog?
Especially about engagement. I think reaching an online community is one, but really engaging with them and getting valuable insights from them is the next.
Great one. And a third? Because good things always come in three. Yeah? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Like how do you start? Where do you start? What do you do if you want to reach a new group of people and make them feel like they are a community and have a discussion and work on the engagement part actually. But how do you start if you don't have anything to start from?
Great, thank you. Looking at the team of presenters, I think we will cover that. Yeah? Okay, great. So my name is Wouter van Tongeren. I'm the Director of Partnership Management for RNW Media. But today I'm here as your host and your facilitator. Maybe briefly about why we're having this session today and why RNW Media is leading. Who is familiar with the history of RNW Media? Anyone familiar with what the acronym RNW stands for? So our legacy is Radio Nederland Wereldomroep, Radio Netherlands Worldwide. So the organization actually used to be a radio broadcasting company up until 2012. And we had journalists working all different parts of the world, bringing news not only for us while we're on holiday, but also supporting investigative journalism across the world. So already in 2012, we decided to reinvent ourselves and become a digital media nonprofit, working with media makers and change makers all across the world to bring news to local audience. And as we always said, because informed citizens make better decisions, to ensure that news is actually and information actually reaching people that are hard to reach. So in 2012, as an organization, we started to work in the MENA region in Africa, but also in China, India, with local teams of change makers to see how we could engage specifically young people. And if we say young people, we mean people the age of 15 to 30. And in the sector, we have lots of different definitions of what it means to be a young person, but in our opinion, you're still young until the age of 30. And we had the luxury to actually work with amazing teams on the ground. And we learned a lot while doing. I was just explaining in introduction is that we would have hoped that there was a lot of strategy about the things that we learned, but often we just stumble upon our learnings. And out of those learnings, indeed, we more or less now claim to be or hopefully the expert on online engagement. Because we learned a lot. We made lots of mistakes, but we also gained a lot of insights. And that's what we will be doing today. We will explain the journey that we went through and the learnings that we picked up in order that we can share it with the sector today. If we go to the next slide, here's a brief introduction. Is there sound or? Oh, sorry.
Billion young people, the largest youth generation of all time. She has many questions. Some are about her body and the way it works. But in her country, sex is a dirty word, and questions are not allowed, especially by women.
I knew we had to do something. to get information, to be able to talk freely.
So who does she talk to, and in what language? How does she ask the right questions, and how will she find the right answers in an intimidating superhighway of online information? This is Emma. He's a young African who is among the 61% on the continent under the age of 25. On the African continent, there are 1 billion cell phones.
We need to be able to challenge our government to make us the priority. We need to have access to decisions in helping build a sustainable future.
Emma is desperate to have his say, driven to make a change in his society. He knows the future is his for the taking if only someone would listen to what he has to say. The average age of African leaders is 61, but where Emma is from, the average citizen's age is 18. This is Sheng. She's part of a generation of free thinkers. She's constantly connected to her mobile. She wants to share ideas, take part in the world, and be taken seriously. She wants to lend her voice to the injustices she sees and stand up for what's right.
It's not always safe to speak out, especially where I'm from, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't have safe spaces where we can talk openly about the challenges we face.
Layla, Emma and Sheng are young people who want to build a better future. They're using digital media powered for social change. Through dialogue, they find common ground and the information they want. They are RNW Media.
Yeah. So that started immediately, but I think the explanation is clear. So today we're going to discuss about our learnings and insights in building digital communities. There too, what is a digital community? Are you part of a digital community? And when are you part of a digital community? So when preparing ourselves, we try to steer away from using internal lingo as much as we could. So as we say community, we actually mean an online safe space where young people can come together to find information but also express themselves. What is important in engagement, and to relate to your question early on, is that if you have appealing media, if you have appealing stories, you can measure the reach. And the slide hereafter, we're going to look at that. But reach by itself doesn't say that much. What we are after is engagement. And that's also what we will be discussing later on. If people start to engage with the content, start to respond to it, and actually start to respond to one another, that's where the change sits. So we're not an organization that does digital media as such. We're not an organization that only specializes in campaigning, in bringing news to young people, but we specifically want to specialize in bringing the young people to the conversation and let them participate and express themselves. That is a different strategy than just campaigning, and that's something that we will zoom into during today's session. Why did I explicitly mean that our ambition is to reach young people? Because it's young people that are online. Often we find data about internet access that is relatively low, but those who are online often are the ones that are young. So if we have data on a national level where internet access is low and mobile phone penetration is also relatively low, often it still means that it are the young people that are online and that they can be found. On average, in the MENA region in Africa, but also globally, it's more than 42% of the world that's younger than 25. So young people is not a marginalized group of society. It is the next generation that will shape this world's future. So the better we can engage them and we better can appeal to their voices and their aspirations, the better we can actually shape the different missions we have in our development sector. Some basic data, it's behind me and in front of me. Worldwide, it's almost 4 million people that are using internet actively, whereas it's more than 8 million that have a mobile phone connection. So more than almost 8 billion, sorry. And almost 4 billion individuals that are using internet. So we're no longer talking hundreds or thousands. We moved from millions to billions. And if you go to the next slide, if you talk digital and if you talk engagement digitally, there too. These are some of the numbers of our own organization. Well, we were still working with 15 platforms. I will not go into detail what all the different figures say, but the main pillar at the the right-hand side is that in the end, the content that we've been creating through the different platforms, it's only 15 platforms across Africa, the MENA region, China and India, is 1.8 billion. 1.8 billion views. The more important are, of course, the engagement figures, but we're still talking millions. And I think that is the biggest advantage of going digitally. Your reach increases enormously, and also your opportunity to engage with youth. So this logically brings me to the first speaker of today. If we go to the next slide. Because today we will be discussing how do you reach young people? And how do you ensure that these young people are not only reached, but you engage them in decision-making processes and that their voices are being heard? How do you do that? So to set the stage, the first speaker of today is my dear colleague Adrien Trogmé. And he will specifically focus on the first question, why digital? Why going digital? Is that the answer to all my questions? And is digital even the answer in those areas where maybe internet penetration appears relatively low? Adrian, the floor is yours, and please start with introducing yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Walter. You asked to introduce myself, but did you introduce yourself?
I didn't.
Yeah, you didn't. Okay. So I'm Adrien Trogmé. As you might hear, I'm French. I've been living here for 7 years in the Netherlands, and I came back to the Netherlands for this work. So it's been 7 years that I've been working for RNW Media. Before RNW Media, I've been always been working in relationship with production of content, cultural projects in Latin America, in Asia, and in Madagascar. So I wanted to share a bit my experience since 7 years when I started to work for RNW Media, and what was the feedback given by the partners, by the donors, by our peers, right? And I think you are our peers. We are here together. So I wanted to share some experience about that, so that we have some thinking around it. I remember the first trip I had within RNW Media was in Burundi, and it was in December 2014. And we went to Bujumbura, obviously. We met different ambassadors, and by then RNW Media was just transitioning, right, from the Radio Nederland Veldam group to this digital media organization. And when we met the ambassadors, when we met the partners, they say, yeah, it's interesting what you propose, digital. But here it's nothing. It's really low. You know? It's, I think by then it was maybe on a population of 10, 11, 12 million, it was maybe 500,000 users. You know? So it was really reduced. But what happened in Burundi was, unfortunately, really tragic, because some months later, you might know, there was a huge political crisis, and in just one night, what was said to be the most prominent radio, the media, because this is what the donors, this is what the NGOs were always saying. Here, it's radio. Digital, it's not for now. It's not for now, come later. But in one night, all radios were destroyed. Every radio was destroyed in one night, 13 May 2015. So what did the Burundians? They had to switch to Facebook, to WhatsApp massively. So that was a forced digital transition. And this is, of course, a really brutal transition. But this is, I believe, what has happened in countries where, yes, there is a low internet penetration. I believe Burundi is around 15%. I will speak about Mali, it's 13%. But actually, internet, it's a really important channel for communication, for engaging. I'm going to give you some examples about that. Speaking about WhatsApp, you know, the way we are using WhatsApp here, I believe it is mostly to communicate with friends. It is mostly maybe to send pictures of your baby to your family. But in countries like Mali or Burundi, can I say no? Okay, we can discuss. But in countries like Burundi and Mali, it's really a channel where you're going to share so much information. so much information. So you are a member of different groups and you receive constant information. Of course, it's not necessarily fact-checked information, but this is the way WhatsApp is being used. It's totally different, I believe, from the way we are using it for the majority, I guess. So, you know, today, the answer when we go and meet the ambassadors, the NGO, today the answer is really different. They say, yeah, of course, we would like to work on digital because this is where the youth is mobilized, this is where the youth is being engaged, and everybody sees this as really a big opportunity. But the question is also, what about, because I thought that was the frame of this Partos meeting, what about communities who are more marginalized? What about communities who are in rural areas? What about communities that maybe do not have digital access, online access? Communities that cannot afford internet bundle, that cannot maybe express online in an efficient way. So this is this that I'm going to tackle through one or two examples. And so what is really important here is that these marginalized communities, as I said, internet might be too expensive. Electricity also might be quite an issue. And smartphones, we can find smartphones, I think, for 40, 50 euros. They are really low quality. And obviously, this is not everybody who can afford that, but this is a tool that you can acquire from China, from Southeast Asia. This is a tool that you can acquire. I guess if it's marginalized communities or rural communities, you might try to reach them or give them a space where to advocate on radio, through offline events. Maybe you're going to invite them to the capital city or to the international events so that they can advocate. That was the, I would say, traditional way to do so. But most of the times, it might be local. No, it might be really local. And this is one gap that the digital can cover. Because if you're going to access a rural community, which is going to present the situation, which is going to introduce its identity or its problem. If you have the capacity to put some extract of this debate online, you're going to have an offline debate where maybe in the room, like here today, you will have 100 people, but you have the capacity to put it online and to disseminate some extract from 100 people in one room. This debate can be seen by hundreds of thousands of, dozens of thousands of people. This is what has happened, for instance, with an association in Kai, Mali. It's an association of allegedly slaves. I don't know if you know a bit the situation in Mali. There are still a situation of communities who are suffering from slavery. And there was this association who is advocating, but they didn't have enough visibility. They didn't have enough platform. And one of these communities that we have set up in Mali is called Ben Bere. They have been put in contact with them, and they start to work together. The association has brought all the thematic, the content expertise. And Ben Bere, because they are experts in producing content, because they are experts in engaging a youth audience online, they have set up a campaign together. It's, you know, what is a digital campaign? It's the same tools that we're using, I guess, for traditional NGOs. A problem tree, a solution tree, you're going to identify the factor, and for each branches, you're going to actually translate this into content. So during 2-3 months, these digital communities, they're going to hammer down on one topic. And this campaign was called Mali sans esclaves, you know, it's quite simple, Mali without slaves, and they're going to mention this topic again and again and again. The association will be maybe coached so that they can self-advocate through videos, and they can themselves bring the message. You know, videos, the younger you are, the more videos you're going to consume. This has been increased through COVID. So videos is the simple way the most simple way for people to express, right? And you can do it in local language, it's being subtitled. So this has been a really powerful way for this association to engage. From a really local perspective, it reached also national authorities. So that's also really important, because the authorities, ministries, they are all online. They all have a Twitter account, they all have community managers, and I think now it's really the case in any country. So when you're going to campaign online, it's immediately going to reach the if you were campaigning in a radio, it's true, it will be strong locally, but it might not have a national or an international repercussion. So that's also something which is brought with the online elements. I take a small break. So this campaign about Mali sans esclaves, it's quite interesting because all the content, all the testimonials that have been proposed during this campaign, then you get engagement. You get inbox messages. People say, this is also happening to me. And this content became kind of data for advocacy, and it has been used by the UN representative in Mali that use this content to alert higher authorities at the UN headquarters. And then the UN headquarters made a statement. So this is also content that everybody can be used because it's visible. The problem of this association from really local, maybe not known, became a national problem. And this is really a strength of the digital campaigning. So even if some communities do not have this capacity to access online, I don't think we should wait for them to be able to have enough digital literacy to be online. We can work with them with this, with the digital communities that we have set up. We can work with them so that we can implement some campaigns. I think, I don't know how much I am with time. 2 minutes, okay. So I'm going to finish with that and try also to answer to your question. How do we do? How do we set up vibrant, engaging local communities? First, when I say we, it's wrong. It's not we. It's always we work with local content producers, local bloggers, local community managers. Ideally, we work with an already existing organization, already existing association. Mali, we started our project Benbere with the association de blogueurs du Mali, Doni Blog, it's called. And we're going to reinforce them. And they're going to build a national brand. And this is super important. Because if we were to put RNW Media Mali, they will never have trust from the audience. You know, now any society, especially now in Mali, any society wants to be sovereign. You know, they don't trust anymore foreign information, etc. So it has to be strongly, locally identified. It has to be a local brand, because if you don't guarantee that, it won't work. And that's also maybe a message for some partners from NGOs. You know, if tomorrow Benbere is going to engage on a campaign with an NGO, the logo of the NGO might not be present. But that doesn't matter, because I believe the NGO, they want their content, their thematic expertise to be engaged on. They want their content to become a national debate and to influence the society. So this trust, we can also not, if I have to work in Kidal, with a community in Kidal, nobody here will be able to go there, right? Because it's not safe. But this community, they have network, they're local, so they can access anywhere, and they can much easily connect with marginalized community. So this is what I wanted to say for now about some examples from Mali and from the community.
Adrien, thank you very much. So maybe quickly to reflect. So what did Adrien say here? I think one of the things that you started off with highlighting is that the digital transition is happening all across the world, in all regions. And I think one of the other important things that you finished with is that in order for young people to trust the media and engage with it, they should trust the people behind it, which doesn't always help if you start to label, for instance, as an INGO, and specifically, and I think Walid later on will get back to that, is that if you push, you don't need to push, you shouldn't push information on people, because young people know immediately. You should create a pool. And that's where the media background comes from. So it starts with appealing stories. Media, graphics, motion, even gamification. You should create an entry level for people to respond and relate to the content in order for it to be successful. So the level of trust is, I think, an important one. Great. So I think Adrian was very passionate and already shared lots of information, but I can imagine that there are already some questions. Clarification questions, maybe you want him to elaborate a bit about something. So if there are, please take this opportunity. It's a relatively small group, so we can really make it an in-person meeting. So any questions to Adrian or remarks? I have the microphone. Yeah. Anyone? Yeah.
Thank you. I was wondering, you just said about trust, and I think that's a very interesting. They have to trust the person behind it. And you also shared about the project in Mali, and I was wondering how to make it safe, because it's a lot of information that youngsters share, and it can also be dangerous to share. Yeah. How to make it? Well, you mentioned a safe space. Yeah, absolutely. How to make it safe? Yeah.
Yeah, so as I explained, and that was the particularity in French-speaking Africa, is not necessarily, I think Ruba then will explain the situation in Yemen, but we've been working with bloggers. So when you think about bloggers, it's testimonial, it's opinion, it's not necessarily fact-based, but the project that we have set up, actually we have professionalized the bloggers. So we have supported them through coaching, and even if it's an opinion, even if it's a testimonial, an analysis is going to be fact-checked, is going to be edited. So anything before being published is edited, let's say, by local content producers, which are quite savvy, so that it guarantees safety. Then, I think Walid will talk about that, but the spaces are highly moderated. So any comments which is brought on these communities, there is community managers which is going to analyze this comment and which is going to answer with different kind of behaviors. It can also suppress a comment if it's really hateful, but we don't want to ban people from the committees. We want to, through empathy, actually try to orientate a bit their behavior towards dialogue. So this is a way. Then obviously there are some. Let's say if we were to work with people with disability, if you give them directly space to digital channels, you know, they might not master the tools, they might not master the communication, and the results might be quite negative because they can be mocked, etc. So this is also where there might be a clarification of value, and this is also where the content producers are going to work with them so that they can self-advocate. I believe video is a really strong example, and they can actually, their advocacy is going to be really powerful, because it's also going to be great for them because they will have this space where they can express, they will have this tribune. Last point, some communities, let's say LGBT communities, for instance, they cannot advocate publicly in some countries, right? But we can facilitate some safe spaces, such as WhatsApp groups. It might be 100 persons, but in this WhatsApp group, we might tailor a content which is going to be really tailored for this community. And there, it's going to give a lot of safety feeling, and I think safety feeling is giving power, right? So then, when they have more information about who they are, about their rights, their health, they can maybe start to go more publicly. So that are some strategies that for safety that we are putting.
Yeah, maybe I can continue a little bit on that safety, because I think that is still a point that I think everybody's exploring. Just a question, do you also have any, for example, fallback mechanisms in place? For example, if one of the bloggers or one of the respondents or activity, those members become endangered because of the content that is shared within that group, even if they're not actively participating, if you're in that group and people see the list, they can see the phone numbers, and then it's quite easy, of course, to track that person if you're government-related or the telecom network, which is often in hands of the government. Do you guys have safe spaces for these groups so that they, I don't know, they go into just an extreme example, that they could, for example, move to a new place and anything in, do you guys have like this fallback system?
So this is what we try to avoid. All right, this is the extreme situation, and it did happen. My colleague from Yemen, such situation have happened. In Burundi, later we'll have somebody from Burundi. We had to fly out in this crisis time. We had to fly out some people, but we learned a lot also from that, because our goal by setting up a local brand, a local really it becomes really a strong media. Okay, so it's recognized, and they dialogue with the authorities. We don't want this media to become an opponent. Because it's not their place. So you can have campaign, but you don't want to become a target. So they manage a space of conversation with some authorities. There are things they do not tackle, to be honest. There are things they do not tackle. You can tackle these things if you're outside of the country. It's safe outside of the country. But if you are in the country and if you plan to stay in the country, there are things you cannot tackle because your life will be endangered. If some of these contributors will be endangered, we have in the past indeed activated a safety plan. But again, we do everything so that this doesn't happen. It's a kind of failure if it does happen. So there are.
Afghanistan is, I think, a very good example.
Yeah.
Where we can't expect. Well, you don't, nobody expected that change, but everybody. Well, I think especially the women groups in Afghanistan, well, a lot of them are in sense in danger because they've been participating in those groups, in those WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups. No, but it's safety protocols.
Again, taking the example of Burundi, so we fly out for 3 months, the main founders of the project, which is going to be introduced later. But then they come back, and they have changed. We have changed together the editorial line, because if tomorrow you need to, okay, the worst example, somebody is kidnapped or somebody is tortured or somebody is killed, this is point. But if you have to shut down the shop, to shut down the media, it's a victory for the authority. But if, okay, maybe there are some topics you're not going to tackle, but you can still. If it's shrinking, but you can still try to maintain this space and little by little try to extend it. I think it's a slow process, but it's better that all the young people, all the content producers need to get out because it's over for them. They will be killed if they come back to the countries. So I have more this approach of staying in the country and make a local brand and advocate on topics that, yes, are important for young people, but that won't endanger them immediately.
Questions? Yeah. We have one more speaker, and then there's more time for a Q&A. No, and I think because deeping into the conversation about creating safe spaces, I think it's good to continue this discussion after the presentation of my colleague Ruba Mimi, who at this moment is in Jerusalem, who will mention one of the projects we've been running in Yemen. Yemen has been on top of the Fragile Country Index for the last 5 to 10 years. So creating safe spaces in an environment like Yemen will probably also speak a lot to the questions being asked. And after the presentation of Ruba, we can go into to these questions a bit more. Maybe also linking to the question that you asked, I think you also related it to the safety of the people in the communities, isn't it? Yeah. Well, that's good that we also have Walid, and he can also refer to that a bit. How do we indeed create online moderation in a safe space, and that the user-generated content itself is safe, and that people don't expose themselves in a way that... So yeah, creating safe spaces online. I think Ruba, that is the cue to go to you. Ruba is our regional manager for the MENA region, has been instrumental in initiating and incubating projects across the region. And today she will speak about one of the projects that we're very proud of, the project in Yemen. Ruba, the floor is yours, and please introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you very much, Wouter, and thanks for the questions. This makes me more excited about sharing the story of Yemen, because some of them will probably answer yours a bit. A bit of introduction about myself. I'm based in Jerusalem, as Wouter mentioned. I was born and raised in Palestine. I worked in the field of media since I was 15 years old, and I focused on media for social change throughout my media journey for 10 years prior to joining RNW Media. And actually, it relates, my personal story relates to my work at RNW Media, so I'll share a bit. I discovered the power of media when I was at school. We had some male teachers in a girls-only school, and they were using a very abusive language when speaking to us as girls in class, assuming that there will nothing come out of us as girls, so whatever they're teaching us is not important. This made me very frustrated as a student moving to that school then. So I decided to express myself and write about this experience in the newspaper. There was a youth newspaper distributed all over the country. So I decided to give it a try and write something. And I wrote something about this experience, which went viral between schools, and other students were interested to complain the same way. This was the discovery moment for me about the power of media and what media can do, because actually I was in trouble, so the change wasn't very positive, but I felt that I could expose something wrong in society and put it out there to be improved. So this is where my passion towards media for social change came, and I studied media and continued in the field until I decided then to continue with my education, moved to the Netherlands, and joined RNW Media. I found it really magical to find another organization outside Palestine focusing on media for social change then. So yes, and focusing in Yemen made sense for me, coming from a conflict zone. That's why the project of Yemen connects with me personally very much. RNW Media's mission is a continuation to where I started as a young person since I was 15 years old. So trying to make this possible for another group of young people in another context was really something I appreciated through RNW Media, and I'm very happy to share with you the story of Manassati 30 today. By the way, I'm in Jerusalem because I gave birth to my first child last May, so I was in maternity leave and preferred to be around the family. So I just came back from maternity leave and happy to connect with the Netherlands again, even if through the digital means. And I so much appreciate that now I can see the audience. Thank you. I hope we can keep doing that, dear technician. Yes, hello. So maybe quickly to get a feeling from the room, how many of you work or have worked on Yemen? If you can raise your hands. Okay, one person. From which organization, or your name and the organization if possible, to see if we were former partners at some point.
I don't know which camera is you.
Which that one. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so I'm Gerber from Opinion. And we connect with Yemeni actually in the whole of the country, so as well as the north as the south. And we do it through social media. So WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, and all those platforms. So I'm very excited to hear your story, because I think there's a lot to learn from both sides.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think we connected with the organization at some point related to data and what we do in Yemen, maybe not with you, with other colleagues. So I'm looking forward to connect again. Thank you. And sorry to put you on spot. Maybe because we have only one person who works in Yemen, I'll begin with giving a bit of context about the situation in Yemen. With over 6 years of conflict, Yemen remains the world's worst humanitarian crisis, with 71% of its population in need of humanitarian aid. This means 7 out of 10 are in need of humanitarian assistance. When the pandemic started, I was communicating with our colleagues back then, worried about the consequences of COVID on them. So I was writing my colleagues and checking on them, asking for, let's keep social distance, let's avoid offline activities. Surprisingly, for many young Yemenis, COVID-19 did not bother them very much because they have other equally devastating health crises in the country. Not to mention the basic services shortage with very limited access to clean water and continuous electricity blackouts. Now, with this context, you might be wondering, how would a digital media platform or digital communities make sense at all? I mean, if you have electricity blackout, how would you facilitate work online? Why would you even go online? We had the same doubt and the same questions back in 2013 when we launched a pilot project to test the relevance of our approach in conflict zones. We learned a lot in this journey of 7 years, which helped us shape our engagement and content strategies. And I would dare to say to shape the theory of change of how we work at RNW Media. We're happy to share with you the story of Manassati 30. I think you can, I can't see the other screen, but I think you can see the platform now in front of you, or a screenshot from the platform in front of you, hoping it inspires your work if you work in conflict zones. A little bit of a zoom out. In fragile states, young people, from first-hand experience, from my experience being Palestinians in Palestine, but also following up with young people in other conflict zones, we see that young people in such contexts have more responsibilities toward their societies. Since that system does not serve you as an individual, you're forced to be active to get your basic rights. So nothing is coming on your door for granted. Everything you get, you need actually to go after it to achieve it and get the quality of life you deserve. This is the group of young people whom we aim to connect with and serve at RNW Media in collaboration with country partners in Yemen, but also in other countries. We started working in Yemen before the war started. We built a digital community, starting with a Facebook page aiming to connect young Yemenis together, providing an enabling space for them to discuss issues that matter to them. A space they can own, where they are treated as the experts on their own topics. And why this space is important is because media in Yemen is very polarized, and other digital spaces that exist in the country are either controlled by a person that has very strong political background, or is for one of the polarized media. We try to create something different, an alternative civic space where young people can connect regardless of who they are, where they are from, and the political background they have. And thanks for the question on safe space. In the context of Yemen, having the safe space meant making it as clean as possible from such polarization, as clean as possible from hate speech. So we have young moderators working on these platforms throughout the hour, every day. So this is different than working 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. No, our colleagues and our partners in Yemen moderate this platform throughout the hour to make sure that the guidelines of this social media platform is followed by our users, that the conversations are safe, open to everyone, and the moderators interfere when needed to make sure that harassment doesn't happen or doesn't happen as much. So because of course this is an open space, so anything can happen in comments, but we have full-time staff working across the hour to make sure conversations remain safe. The digital platform you see in front of you is carrying the name of Manassati 30, which means My Platform 30. It has a website hosting the project's content, which is created by young people to young people, which is one of the key successes to make the content engaging. And the project also has various social media channels, engaging audience on the content developed and other developments in the country. What makes also this digital space safe and open to young people is the topics, the content strategy that is followed by the editors and the team working on it. So the focus is really on a positive discourse. It's on positive storytelling, because what we realize is that there's a lot of negative stories and negative developments happening and getting published continuously. So it becomes really disturbing and very heavy on young people to keep on receiving these news that don't reflect your individual dream or your individual, the topics that you care about. Talking about love, talking about what I want to be in the future, or how I would lead the country if I were in charge. Other topics than what's usually presented in news. So this is how we do it. We focus on focusing on content that is of interest to young people. So young people have the chance to participate and take part in the conversation through one, producing content themselves if they are content makers, or simply commenting on some of the posts that are published on social media, or even participate anonymously in one of the surveys that we continuously produce. So every month almost we have an online survey published online on social media and on the website. We focus on those topics which young people aren't very comfortable talking about publicly. So young people participate by sharing their opinions. Then the results are analyzed and shared back with the community. Now, you might be wondering, how would a social media page and publishing content would still lead to social change? I mean, maybe from my personal story, you got that expressing your needs and telling your story by itself can create a difference. But still, how can we make tangible social change in society through moderating social media or through creating such content? The answer is in three steps. First, it's the content that is getting published, triggering social and behavioral change. And if you're interested in this topic, there are very interesting courses offered by RNTC, our training center. I recommend going to the page to check. Sometimes there are master classes. It's not only for journalists, it's also for any communication specialists interested in tailoring positive stories that can trigger social change. So yes, our teams, content makers, and even the partners we work with are trained in the art of creating influential media. The second is about engaging on this media. So the media is online, the content is created. How do we create meaningful engagement on it? This, I won't dig so much on this because we have our colleague Khalid in the room, who is an engagement specialist and can tell you so much about it. But happy to answer any questions if you're curious about something specific to Yemen in this regard. And the third, it's about connecting with you, other organizations working in the field, to amplify those voices. So I started saying that we build digital communities to connect young people together. We do something else about the voices that we collect, those opinions we collect from young people. What we try to do is amplifying those voices to make it heard by decision makers and power holders, to make some noise even in the society on different social topics and social issues that young people suffer from or want to address in society. So we carry out campaigns in collaboration with the country partners and other organizations, and those campaigns will focus on specially tailored content, engagement on social media, and so on. We got the list of attendees, the name of the organizations who are with us today. I remember there was someone from Oxfam Novib. Is it? Could this person join us today? Do we have someone from Oxfam Novib? Okay, then I can tell you something and you'll believe it. We collaborated with the Oxfam Novib on a campaign. I'd like to use it as an example for you on how impact can be multiplied by working together with other organizations on advocacy messages. A couple of years ago, we organized a big campaign focusing on anti-harassment for the 16 days of activism in Yemen. We had creative content. We created a survey asking young men and women about their experiences with harassment. We received really very, very touching stories. Now we had so many stories available. We used it for advocacy purposes, and a couple of months later, Oxfam knocked our door asking for these stories to tailor their campaign, but also to work together to make another impactful campaign in the country. We collaborated in this campaign by providing the data as evidence for this advocacy campaign, but we also created special content for Oxfam, and we worked across the country in this activity. The results of that were really magnificent. We created a survey to evaluate how it went, and we noticed a shift in young men's opinions and behaviors. Like, some men admitted that they are regretting the way they were treating some colleagues, for example, and they now realize how heavy their behavior was on others. So this is an example of how working online can achieve social change. We can't, of course, finish the negative behavior of harassment, for example, over one campaign, but doing such work and focusing on such content, for example, can really be triggering and make a difference. Harassment is mentioned as an example, but the project focuses on multiple themes, from civic rights to sexual and reproductive health and rights to peace building, which is currently ongoing in collaboration with UNESCO on one hand, and another peace building project in collaboration with our dear partners, CARE Netherlands. One of the challenges we faced was the low number of women users on social media. The number of Yemeni users, which I think if you see it in the screen in the next slide, we can see that the percentage of women users in Yemen is only 14%. It's also 14% in our social media platform. I think it's increased because the statistic is from a couple of months ago, but still. While the engagement level on average on Facebook page in Yemen is only 10%, which is really low. By the way, this is relevant to Yemen, but actually the engagement of women in comparison to men is much lower in several contexts, not only Yemen, while being more severe in Yemen. We worked on the content strategy. We worked with female moderators. We tried to focus on women-related topics and making sure that the conversation is inclusive. And we're happy to say that the engagement increased almost triple. The engagement on Manassati 30's Facebook page is 28%. In comparison, as I said, it's 10% on average in other pages. So while engaging women is especially challenging, if we zoom out to the internet landscape in Yemen, it's actually challenging to everyone, to every young Yemeni. Internet is expensive. Context-wise, it's one of the slowest, if not the slowest internet speed in the world. Yet young Yemenis, young people want to be heard and still engage online. I usually receive questions like, there will be power cuts. How would the content be relevant? Surprisingly, every time there's a big crisis in the country, we see a wave of more participants in surveys when it's relevant to the topic. Because when the situation is worse, young people want to be heard more. They have more to say about the situation. So this is how this is possible. And we're happy to say that every month we have millions, hundreds of thousands engaging with the content, over 1,500 participants in the survey, and also millions watch our videos. So it's almost this is it. As part of our sustainability plan, this digital platform, we believe in local ownership. So this is handed over to a local CSO, youth-led. They're still operating under this platform, working closely with RNW Media, getting benefit of the trainings, the supervision, the development, and the adaptation of the content strategy that is fed to them and fed to our strategy continuously through this close partnership. We're happy to see the project blooming, and videos are still receiving millions of participants and views. And yeah, that's it. But it wouldn't be fair, actually, to close my session without taking you to Yemen. I'm in Jerusalem. You can see Yemen, actually, in my background. But I started with a conflict, and I like to end with something positive. With this positive thing is what we witness in the country. I chose a video to share with you today, and this video, it has a very, very special place in my heart. We produced it last year, end of 2020, in collaboration with young talents from all over the country. Over 100 young Yemeni worked together to make this possible. And normally 100 Yemeni is easy to find in the same street, but this wasn't the case in this video. Young Yemenis from throughout Yemen participated without seeing each other. So the lyrics came from one side because of the song, actually, you will hear, was produced especially for the project, focusing on positive messages, focusing on what connects young people together, and celebrating the beauty of Yemen. So young talents came from everywhere in Yemen. Even Yemenis in the diaspora took part in the video, put it together to prove to us that there is a beautiful energy in the country, and change will be possible, because when this energy comes together, something great can happen. So I cry almost every time I watch the video because I can see my colleagues and the beautiful faces and the happy faces of those impacted heavily from the conflict. I'll end here and leave you to enjoy this video from Yemen. I hope you enjoy seeing beautiful Yemen, and hope one day the conflict ends and peace prevails, and we all get to have this meeting in one of those beautiful places you'll get to see. Thank you very much for listening, and over to the video.
لحظة هذا يومنا نتمنى نعيش متحابين واحد لون قلوبنا ما يوم نكون مختلفين
لحظة هذا يومنا نتمنى نعيش متحابين واحد لون قلوبنا ما يوم نكون مختلفين
نحيا بحب ونتحدى الصعب وقلب مع قلب للأيام الحلوة رايحين يلا يلا يلا
where are you? Yeah. Ruba, thank you very much. And this wasn't the end of the video, so there are 2 more minutes. So basically, this was the teaser, and we all encourage you to go online and see also the last part. I think Ruba, her presentation taught us a couple things. I think one of the things that Ruba zoomed into, and I think that's what we ended with, is that in order to engage young people, you should engage them with content that they like. So I think positive content and let them participate in it. And the video itself is the best example of that. This is how you start your engagement, good content. Next step, of course, is good engagement strategies. Who do you want to reach? And which will be the logical step to the next speaker. And then the third point that she mentioned is partnerships. Ensure that we work together. Don't work in isolation. If going digital means you can reach a lot of people, it also means that you can bring these voices to many good causes. I think so. These are the 3 steps that you pointed out. And another thing that Ruba mentioned, some of the learnings that we had in Yemen was, of course, if we say digital communities for change, what does change mean? And I think Ruba gave good examples that change means either behavioral change. So you can literally drive behavioral change. We saw that not only in Yemen, but actually not in Yemen per se, but in a lot of our platforms when COVID hit, gender-based violence was on the rise. So COVID itself was a problem, but the result of it, gender-based violence, was even a bigger problem to a lot of women. So driving behavioral change through the platforms, addressing that is not normal, was one of the things that we aimed for. Another thing is that change of social norms, so change of perception. I think the example that Ruba gave also in a potentially polarized country as Yemen is that the perception of the other and not seeing them as the other is one of the other main things. And as the video showed, it's like, and as Ruba pointed out, this is a video that is made by a lot of participants across the country who weren't thinking in north or south, who weren't thinking along civil war lines. They were thinking as Yemenite. So change of social norms is another one. And of course, related to the peace and state building activities, and also related to the example that Adrian provided on Mali, is when you bring the online to the offline, then it's about driving policy change. If you bring those voices to decision makers offline, that is when you're also driving policy change. That happened in Mali, and that is now happening in the ongoing discussions led by the UN in Yemen. Young voices are being heard and now are part of the discussions that are ongoing. So driving change can mean 3 different things there. Conscious of the time, we will go to Walid hereafter. He has an interactive presentation. But of course, I do want to give you the opportunity to ask questions to Ruba. Yeah. Ruba, you're in that camera, isn't it?
I'm in this camera.
That one? Okay. If you can come here, then she can see who...
Yeah, good. I can see, I can see people even seated if you like. But good. I'll look and I'm on the
switch
side.
Cameras, of course. Okay, you can stay in your seat.
I'm behind the lady well, the blonde lady here.
Behind the blonde lady.
Okay.
Here is the gray-haired person.
There are multiple
look at this way or this way? Their way?
No.
Yeah.
Yes. This way. Yes. I'm here.
Thank you for this energetic presentation. By the way, congratulations first for becoming a mother, because I think we should all be applauding for that first, because I heard someone, a little person at the background, and that was energetic as well to listen to. Thank you for the video. Actually, I saw a similar video about Palestine and Dabke dance, which is energetic as well to do, and quite difficult actually, but it's nice. My question is, you brought, let's say, a very important thing to engage with the youth. We have to have a positive message because they are building the future, and we should provide them, let's say, a window to the future and the positive things. But at the same time, the reality is that governments at this moment are confining civic space, online space. And from the data you get you can show them, if they wouldn't seclude the youth, the possibilities are endless. how to translate, let's say, the data you have to getting, let's say, more out of it, that digital rights are not being violated. Digital rights are human rights, and the policymakers are, let's say, inspired to provide, let's say, the civic space and ongoing civic space for the youth to flourish. So not about the youth, but how to translate to the policymakers.
Yes. Thank you. I can. Shall I go ahead, Wouter, or you want to collect more? Okay. First, thank you for the warm congratulations, and interesting that you are hearing the baby. He's in the other room, but he's enthusiastic to hear his mom speaking another language, I guess. We don't communicate in English together. Okay, so to your question, it's a very important one. And interestingly, actually, while working in Yemen, because it's now the 4th largest Facebook community in the country. So the platform is known to decision makers, it's known to Ansar Allah, it's known to so many power holders. Interestingly, the youth minister from the Ansar Allah government, from Houthis, contacted the team in Yemen, asking our team to teach them and to help them open a similar platform like Manassati 30 for them as a Ministry of Youth to engage with young people, because they saw the power they can get if they are able to be in touch with so many young people. That was a surprising and a very tricky request, because in a way you want to make the learnings available, right? I mean, you want to help every stakeholder get better in touch with young people, but it can also be harmful to make it very easy for the Minister of Youth, who attended actually one event and was calling for fighting, to also give them the access. So the problem in many cases is also in such context in the government itself. I mean, it's very dangerous to give access to young people in such a way digitally that can be also used to mobilize for fighting, to mobilize for carrying weapon, which is also the case it's the case actually in Yemen. In one of our events in collaboration with UNESCO, the Minister of Youth stood up and said, if you see yourself capable, please come join the fighting front line, because this is your country and we need to save it, fighting the other side of the country. So we found it from experience really tricky to work this close with certain governments, like in the example of Yemen. But I agree with you. The data we collect, the examples, the stories deserve to be addressed and to be included in policies. And this is where we have the Peace Building currently project, and we continuously make sure that the stories and the opinions of young people, the priorities they want from peace talks, for example, get addressed. We send it actually to the government, to the ministers. We send it to the UN Special Envoy. And we even attended the peace talks. We were invited to it. And the results of one of our surveys were used were shared to both parties of the conflict to know what would young people choose as the priorities for the peace discussions. So I'm so happy to hear your questions, because we strongly believe that it's not only about the level of society, but also about how you want your government to be, and about shaping your country through making these opinions and your vision about your country available to decision makers. And I mentioned a negative example about the government, but there's many positive ones. We had some decision makers coming and saying, we find this very important and we want more from it. Please keep sharing it. We want to meet these youth and speak to them. So it can be really rewarding and very impactful sharing it always with decision makers. But yeah, I shared in the beginning the example of putting certain decision makers in touch directly can also be dangerous. So you need to balance it. Thank you. That's it. Sorry for the long answer.
And yet again, I think as I introduced, like a lot of the things we learned along the way. So using your common sense and see what works, what doesn't work. over the last hour, we had many questions about how exactly do you do it, and we tried to escape some of those questions, but that was because we wanted to give Walid the time to really explain how do you do it, how do you engage youth, and really go into the details of it all. So Walid, if I can give the floor to you.
Thank you very much, partner. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Walid Khalid. I am the digital engagement expert within RNW Media. Oh, sorry. So, hi, good morning again. My name is Walid Khalid. I'm the digital engagement expert at RNW Media. Originally come from Iraq, born there, studied, then moved to the Netherlands. My background comes from media, digital, marketing, and gaming, football, among other stuff. But the most important things that keep me always motivated is the human behavior science, which is something I really like, and I would love also to go deeper with it. And that's mean you, the people. The people are here, but also the people in the digital side of the story. So I would love always to learn about people, how they behave, how they interact with each other, what is motivate them, what is stopping them. So all these questions, I'm really interested in it. And I was lucky enough to work with RNW Media with lovely colleagues from all over the world. So I have been in China, I have been in India, I have been in Yemen, I have been in Sub-Saharan Africa, Cuba. So all this experience was lovely. Young people on the ground try to make a change, and I was part of their journey, and this is something really lovely. I would like to invite you all to be part and just get some flavor of what I mean when we talk about the online engagement. Therefore, I would like to use the Mentimeter. It's an online tool where you guys will be part of it, and I think you know it. So grab your weapon, be ready for it, and we will start the journey with some questions. If you feel comfortable with it, please be part of it. The data that we are collecting today from this Mentimeter will be just used internally for this part of the from the session, and we will not share it with third party or use it for something else. So it's just for here, for us, but it's important for me. And as you see in the Mentimeter, the first question is very direct. So please think of the platform that you are using. And when we say social media, Facebook, WhatsApp, YouTube, any place you are online in. If you are in YouTube, but you are not commenting or uploading video, but you are watching, then it's a platform that you are using. So everything that you use, think carefully. Normally when we present this, some people ask, is the Messenger a platform and Facebook a platform? I will say yes, they are two separated. So if you are using Facebook and using the Messenger, this is two. If you are using Facebook, Messenger, and WhatsApp, they are three. If you are using Facebook, Messenger, WhatsApp, single of other tool, they are four. So think for yourself, how many apps, how many platforms I'm using? Because this is a question that we are not facing every day. It's a simple one, but yeah, we need really to think about it.
So please think carefully. So this is a cross-section of the development center to see how many social media platforms you use.
10 seconds more, so we can go to the next. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1. Are we done? Done? Okay, the next one. What are the biggest active user social media platform from your opinion right now? So not that the one that you are using, from what you know about the social media, what are the biggest active users social media platform? So the platform that has the biggest people act and interact with. So we have Facebook, we have YouTube, we have WhatsApp, and we have Facebook Messenger, we have Instagram, WeChat. For the people who don't know WeChat, it's the social media platform in China. If you don't have WeChat in China, you are not existing. So everything you do in China is via the WeChat. Ordering your food from the stores, but also paying with your bank account. And TikTok, I think most of you are familiar with it. And QQ is similar to the Messenger, WhatsApp Messenger for China. Facebook Messenger for China, the QQ. And Duyong is the one who's similar to, it's a microblogging actually, also for China. And Sinweibo is also a platform that is Chinese. And we have 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 2, 2, 1. Okay, we're done. Actually, if you just back to the previous one, so the biggest is Facebook, totally right. Second one is YouTube. Yeah, so I just lied and from the biggest to the lowest. YouTube, followed by WhatsApp. Facebook Messenger is number 4. Instagram is number 5. WeChat, TikTok, QQ. And you see, the Chinese platform that we never heard of them, but actually there is so many people. So this is the number 10, actually. So, and you see, we just know like small part of it. And if you go to China, you will be surprised how they use the social media, because they are totally different. I have been there. I was surprised about the way they, they use it. And bear in mind that all the data in China is in China. So there is no data out China. And this is a crucial point. We will touch upon it later. Next slide, please. So how long does the average person spend on social media per day, from your experience? I know there is now some features with the iPhone will allow you to see how, your screen, and it will allow you also to see how much time you spend on which platform, which is a great tool, to be honest, but it's scary. So, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 2, 2. No, wait. Okay, interesting. 3:15 minutes. Who say 3:15 minutes? Right hand. 3:15 minutes. 3:15 minutes. Okay. Who say 5 hours? Okay. I mean, no, the average, according to some, to some recent data, so there is also research done by one of the companies that monitor the social media platform and the people who use it, the average is 145. And this is currently. Before the pandemic, it was 115. So after the pandemic, there was like half an hour. But this is the average. So 5 hours, you are still on the good side. Okay, next one, please. So, content that create the most engagement among the young people. And as Wouter says, so we say 30 is the max. So think of the perspective of 30 years max. So you have text, you have video, audio, picture, infographic, GIF, for the people who are not familiar with the GIF, you know, the things that we love to share, they are moving. A mix of content, yeah. So 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 2. Yeah, I mean, the majority are right. Video is number one. It's growing. TikTok is a great example, but also Facebook, Instagram. So everyone is moving for video, but short videos, because I don't think that people now these days are watching like long videos. So short video is key, and this is why you see some platform are trying to embed as much as possible video and invite people to be part of it through the user-generated content. So they would love people to upload as much as possible, and they encourage them. Also, when we talk about the social change and the, how to change people's behavior, text remain very important part, and there is a lot of people also reading text. And we encourage always people to read, because read is really essential. Because idea can come from videos, this is great, but some people would like also, to read it, to feel it. And reading is some like natural things, and we read more than ever these days through the communication and so still playing a big part. Okay, next. Challenges. And here you need to submit like 5 keywords. You think this is the biggest challenges of using the social media? And I would love if you take it just from your personal perspective. So what is the challenges from your personal perspective, from your environment, from your neighbor, family? Just think of it from this perspective. Because most of the time when we do this exercise with people, people start to think about, the bigger problem in the world. We are not interested in the bigger, because if we would like to fix the bigger, we need really to start with the people. And you are here, the people. So we'd like to understand now the behavior. And we have 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 2, 2, too much. Okay, 1. Hope everyone is done? Yeah, this is a great example. I think we are all aware of the problem, and this is some example of the problem. Misinformation, disinformation, fake news, polarization. This is all common, and it's come everywhere. And this input is great for someone like me, because in the heart of my job, I need to look at this and try to translate them to a strategy where our local teams in Yemen, in Burundi, in China can use them. And we do it also in scale. So what does that mean in scale? So it's not like just the focus group we speak with, but we collect a lot of information from a lot of sources. I will come on this. Next slide, please. When there is a challenge, there is opportunities, because we would like to look to the both sides of the coin. Social media is great because it gives the opportunity to the people to raise their voices, to be here, to be part of a community, but also to make some changes in the environment where they are. And these days, it's very much possible. I think we have enough examples from all over the world how people come together in a digital environment, then they can make something on the real life. One of the nice examples that we have is that we saw that the people, when they feel that the brand is safe, when they feel there is enough respect for them on one brand, even if it's digital, they contribute. They would like to be part of it. And this is how we behave as a human. When we feel this is a safe, that will encourage us to join and be part of it in the longer term. So community. Cross borders, absolutely. Visibility, absolutely. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, thank you very much. Great example. We have similar things. Also, I should say that when it comes to the opportunity, this is from your perspective, because you live here in the Netherlands, safe country, beautiful, a lot of water, a lot of canal, a lot of rain as well. But it's different than if you do the same things from the different perspective. If you talk to, like Adrian said, if we talk about someone from Burundi, the result will be totally different. If you talk to someone from Mali, from Yemen, from Mexico, they have different preferences, and they come with different keywords for it. So this is very much also the same when it's come, to the how to develop a strategy around it. The next one. Who own your digital online data? So it's you and the digital host, or the digital host. And it's own. So who owns? Think of it from the individual perspective, but think of it also if you have like a Facebook page and you're on it. So every footprint you have in the digital, who owns this? Because everything you do online is a data. Even if you are not on one of these platforms and you are using a mobile telephone, there is some data about you. Okay. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Very close. Who can break this? Who can give a good answer for it? Who owns the data? Who say 9 from the digital host part? Why do you think that the digital host owns the data? Mike?
I'm actually really not sure, but I'm afraid that it's even scarier than we think. So it's probably all theirs.
Yeah, but you see, the digital host own it. So Facebook own your data, for example.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So not you.
I feel like I own it, but probably if I want to get rid of something, or if I think it's much more complicated than we assume.
You're right. Who says me and the digital host? Yeah. Why do you think you and the digital host?
Well, part of my data is on my own NAS at home, so I own it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, there is no good and bad answer in it. So both are fine, but it's you and the digital platform. So the digital platform you are in on also the data. So you are not you don't have a fully control of it. And the digital data is, even if you have a mobile telephone without any social platform, without anything, they own it, because you are making use of it, and you make a free use of it, and everything has a price. So this is a perspective. Thank you very much for this. This is just like how you say that. very quick survey that we do with our audience to understand more about their behaviors, because understanding their behavior is the first step of developing the engagement. My job within RNW Media focusing on two things: reach the right target audience and ensure that we have quality engagement, not just the engagement. Because engagement could be happened on a video of some young guy playing football, of someone falling from the trap. My job is to ensure that the people engage in meaningful conversation. And the first step that we are doing, because what I'm going now to do is I will take you in the deeper layer of what we are doing. So I'm inviting now you to come and look with me behind the scenes of what we do in order to have these millions numbers. The numbers that my colleagues show you, from Yemen to China to all over the world. So this journey is just focusing on the details, on the how part of what we do. And I hope it's not very technical, because, you know, it's like sometimes it's a small step. So if something very clear, not very clear for you, then we can have an questions. To start with, I'm not the one who is responsible of the content. So there is enough good people working on the content within our organization, but also within the local team. My job is to just working with the local team to ensure they have like the right strategy in place to reach the right target audience. And the first things of doing the engagement is reach the right target people. As you saw from the Mentimeter, we have different opinion about different things. And we live also in very different geographic locations. And we live also in very different cities, but also when it's come to the individual person, they use different device, they use different technology, they use different app, they are in different platform, they have different idea about who's owning what, who's doing what. So the strategy here is how to reach this person with this piece of content at the right time, use in the way that he feels comfortable with. And we call it the smart targeting. We have borrowed this strategy from the, from the enterprise. And I think you have all, so a lot of advertisement coming your way on things that you have interest in. Like if you see a jacket, then you will be surprised there is like a jacket for you in the feed. We have borrowed it, but we are not selling anything with it. We just use it for the social change. Because we know the content related to, for example, female audience will get more engagement and there is more conversation will be built if it's introduced to the female target group at the first stage. Because then the conversation will start from there. If we offer the best content that we produce to the wrong target group, it will there will be very few interaction. Because we all have our hobbies and our interests. So we are not interested in something that not for us. This is why we have this. So we ensure that all piece of content going to the right people. And when the conversation starts, we can see the next slide, which is about the moderation. So when the people start, when the right content come to the right people, people start to engage. And as I said in the previous example, if the conversation of the content meant to like a female audience, then we would like to have the female first in the conversation. So we ensure there is a moderator sitting behind the conversation, especially after the content is published, ensure there is like a safe environment for women to be part of the discussion. Because if the majority of the women who participate in the first stage of the conversation feel safe, interact with each other, you will see the conversation is going up. This is an example from a bigger approach that we have. We call it the pleasure positive approach. It's part of our SRHR program, which is focusing on educating young people about sex and sexuality. And as you know, in the Middle East, because this is content coming from Egypt, talking about these things is very much a taboo. Actually, it's a big taboo. So there is no talk about it in the public. But because our brand has been built with this strategy from the beginning, you see there is like 700 people like the content, and there is a lot of share, there is a lot of comment. And here you see in the example A, this is the deeper layer of engagement. When our moderator engage with one of the target, one of the people who comment. That is important in the first stage because it gives the confidence to this person. This is a safe environment. There is a human sitting behind the page who is watching and ensure that no harassment, no bad or hard language has been used. So you see there is our moderator, while in the B example, you see that the audience start to engage with each others in a deeper layer of an engagement. So it's not the comment itself. No, they go deeper. So they start a conversation, and it's a meaningful conversation. So it's a conversation that has no bad talk, and they are just trying to understand from each other's. And the whole conversation is like this, and we keep repeating it. And as you see here, there is enough hashtag, and we use also inclusive language, which is something really important. I know most of you can't read it. But this part is showing that we talk in an inclusive language. That means we talk to the male and the female in this post. So it's not just you. I mean, this is Arabic. So in Arabic, there is he and she. So we would like to ensure that both of them. The next slide, I will come back to all the questions in the end. So when the engagement happens, we would like to position the audience in the driving seat. And this is crucial because this is something not happening. And this is what distinguishes us on the traditional media. In the traditional media, it was based on the broadcasting. And as you know, broadcasting, when you open the television, you have no control. The best things you can do, you can call, but you are not part of the discussion. So they send the information to you. This is why they call it broadcasting. What we have done, we have turned the cycle around. We have brought the audience to the front. And how we done it? This content is coming from the inboxing. Through the inboxing on our social media platform, we get a lot of messages. And it's coming from, people on the ground talking about a problem they have facing on the ground. And when I say in the ground, in the country where they live. So from Kenya, where this is example. So people start to send us this problem. We thought about it. Why we don't reshare it with the community? So the problem of a young girl, of a young boy, of an LGBTQ, of whatever person can be presented to the community because the community can also provide a solution for it. And this is the example. You see, when someone's seeking help on the local level, the solution that will be provided will come also from the local level. So it's not someone from the Netherlands, he will go to him or her and say, do this or do that. No, it will be coming from the local. And you see the engagement is high. There is also a hashtag for it. So people, when they would like to be part of the community, they just click the hashtag, then all the conversation will be there. And it's qualitative conversation. So all the comment, all the participant has quality here. It's different than just saying ha ha ha, or just make a joke about it. No, this is really something where people think and try also to provide a solution. The next one. the inclusive reach. I think all of you heard about what happened with Facebook. I mean, the shutdown was part of it, but the next day there was a lady she worked with the Facebook. She came to testify for the Congress about how Facebook abused the regulation and put profit in front of the community. Not sure everyone saw it, but this is the big story now in the United States. The Congress is busy with it. This is why Facebook facing a lot of problem. And this is what we realized from the beginning, I mean, a couple of years ago, because we have also some experience with the content removal, campaign stopping. So we thought we don't want to rely. We don't want to put all our basket in one. We don't want to put all our eggs in one basket. So we don't rely on Facebook only. This is why you see here, when we talk about the inclusive reach, we have a website. And website, some people say, yeah, but it's an old-fashioned social media. Everyone is there. You don't have to be on a website. I would just say to you that thinking of the social media, think of that you are building your house in a rented land. It's not yours. It could be shut down, it could be removed. So if you would like to have like a social change, if you would like to have a long-term project, you need to have like a place where people can come back always. This is why website is essential in our work, but we have enough option for the people. We know that our users love to move because they are young people. We move also quickly with them, but strategically. We don't jump when there is like a tuk-tuk trend, or when there is like another platform coming to the, no, we just see, is that fitting with us? Is it represented for the local community? Is the local community who are going to engage with it? Because in the end of the day, they are the user and they would like to be there and engage with it. In this example, you will see that we Twitter account, Instagram account, the website, but we have also more. We have also invest for content for the disabilities people. So people they can't, so we have like an audio where we distribute on so many platforms, including SoundCloud, Spotify, extra, podcast, for example. A lot of content. So we take almost all the possibilities to ensure that we reach the right target audience. Next slide, please. And the very interesting part is of our work is the data. So, you know, data could be used to do so many things. It's a huge market. So it's a market is growing. There is data everywhere. We use the data to drive the social change. And I think we are one of the organizations who invest a lot in doing this. So we have a data lake project. So that is a project, we collect all the data from all the platform, all we have, and we put it in one place. And that will give us like very, very, very fresh perspective about what happened. And we love data because it gives us also like in real time what's going on in the country. So we can also adjust our strategy when the things has been changed. Most of the people who work in the sector, in the traditional way, it took them too long from the planning until the execution. And in that time, a lot of things happening or moving in this environment, which will sometimes the planning is not really fitting what's the needs on the ground because things have been changed. But having like the data-driven approach will help us also to see, because we will be able to monitor the problem immediately on the ground and provide the solution for it. And the example with Mentimeter was a very good example. With some click, you can understand what's going on in this room. But you can also put people in the nice category. So I know the people who work in the sector have interest in this. They know this, they know that, they have this problem, they see this opportunity. And this way, we always adjust our guidelines, strategy that we do, and ensure that it's relevant to the people. Because if we don't do this, yeah, we will be late, actually. This is all from my side. I'm sorry if it's very technical and very details, but yeah, this is what I do actually. So thank you very much for listening, and if you have any questions.
We can do 2 questions, and then since it's the in-person meeting, we will move outside because the next group will come in, and you can actually touch Walid. So that is
yeah, I'm touchable.
Hi, thank you very much for your interesting presentation. I had a question about the moderation that you were mentioning. Is this person, because I understood that they're there to see if nothing like, if there's no harassment taking place, etc. But they are also actually there to stimulate the discussion. They actually ask questions and invite people to respond.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have, with the moderation, we have 2 things. We have the moderation guideline. This is the guideline we share with our community ahead. So if you would like to be a member of our community, you need really to agree on our guidelines. And the guidelines, we say, is no harassment, no intimidation, no hard talk, blah, all the things that we believe. And we develop it with the local team. And then we have the moderation strategy. And with the moderation strategy, this is for our team and our work. And we adjust it based on the local situation. Because something allowed in X country, and it's not allowed in the Y country. With the moderation strategy, our moderator know exactly what is the steps they need to take if they see some content. For example, if someone come with very harsh comment, we don't delete it, we hide it. And why is that? Because we don't want to lose the data. So in the end, if we keep collecting these, we understand how many people come with the hate speech, for example, of misinformation. Because when you hide it, you still own the data, but you are not, other community member can't see it. So we know with the time also how much this harsh talk has been reduced. This is one example. Another example, if there is, for example, a comment from someone who was angry. You see when the interaction coming from a moderator in the name of the page, that reduce the anger of the people by, I would say, 70%, because they feel, oh, this is serious things. And when the other community member, when the other member in the community start to be part of the discussion, you see that the people who start with the anger comment, they change perspective in later stage. So when they go deeper in the conversation, in the end of the day, because our people are well trained, they know how to speak to people, how to get the best of them, you see they change behavior in the end. So this is just some example. So there is a moderation guideline, moderation strategy. 2 very important things.
So we really have to move. So what I would like to suggest, because I see that there's a couple of people who still have one or two more questions. So we move outside, and then you can ask your last question to Walid. But I do want to take this opportunity as a group. Sorry? Oh, but I do want to thank you as a group for being here today in person to talk about digital engagement. But please give a warm hand to the 3 people presenting today. I don't know if Ruba is still there, but Adrien, Walid, thank you very much. Give them a warm applause.